It's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. Of course, comedy, craziness, common sense. We got a lot of craziness going on. We're going to get into that today. You know, Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians, just the other night. You know, last week we showed my new song, Rona, There's No Getting Over Me. And we did that little video, and people were like, why'd you rush that video out so quick and not really put any production value into it? And I said to Jade, I've got to do a video tonight because they're going to find a cure for COVID tomorrow. And coronavirus will be irrelevant, and therefore the song will be done. And it was, ha, laugh, laugh. Corona's going to be here forever, right? Right, Candace? No. In a matter of 72, give or take, hours, the COVID-19 storyline, that's right, the narrative, it's all been thrown out. In lieu of protesting, riots, looting, America's already struggling cities over the weekend, you had these groups of Antifa instigators set the country on fire at rallies expressing outrage over the murder of George Floyd. A disaster declaration was issued in several states, including right here in Texas. But during this time, those who have championed the hashtag stay home narrative flipped the book and began to encourage people to leave their homes to protest all over in the streets. Now, the most deadly thing in the world wasn't coronavirus. It was staying silent. Celebrities left their luxury homes to march through Beverly Hills, standing in solidarity with protesters across the nation. You had big-name celebs like Seth Rogen and Steve Carell and Chrissy Teigen all pledged donations to bail out protesters from jails in Minnesota. You had protests that spread overseas as groups formed in Berlin, Germany, Toronto, Canada, London. Even Feel Me Up, Feel Me Down, Joe Biden couldn't miss out on the action. That's right. He came out of the basement, made a surprise appearance right there in Delaware. Restaurants, chain stores, small businesses that were only beginning to reopen since the COVID-19 shutdowns. They were looted, they were destroyed, set on fire, broken glass, craziness. Violence begat more violence, and now America is on fire. Well, today, fellow BlazeTV host and general shenanigan puller, and my good friend Elijah Schaffer of Slightly Offensive will join us in studio to talk about his in-person interactions with the riots in downtown Dallas and the video clip that has since gone viral. But first, as you know, we got to pay the bills. So here's a word from our sponsor, Brickhouse Nutrition. Now that America's opening up, or at least we thought it was, doesn't mean everything's okay. You still need to wash your hands, social distance, and take Field of Greens by Brickhouse Nutrition. Every day, one scoop has a full serving of real USDA-certified organic fruits and vegetables, which boosts energy and supports a healthy immune system. Plus, a diet of fruits and vegetables can reduce your risk of heart disease, hypertension, and a whole host of health issues. Field of Greens, prebiotic, probiotic, and a great source of vitamins, fiber, and other nutrients. Just put a scoop of Field of Greens in a glass of water, stir it up, drink it, you are done. Right now, I'm going to save you 15% off your first order with the offer code CHAD at brickhousechad.com. It's brickhousechad.com. Subscribe today, save an extra 10% every single month. You cannot control the world, but you can make sure that you're giving your body a fighting chance. Try Field of Greens today. Go to brickhousechad.com, brickhousechad.com, promo code CHAD. We'll be right back. All right, this was a crazy last week, all right? It was crazy, and let me preface, as I did it last week, I'm going to do it again. It should go without saying, but unfortunately we're living in a world where it doesn't go without saying. The world's been united in the animosity of this death of George Floyd. I mean, if you watch the video of it, I'm tired of seeing it simply because of the just the heartbreaking nature of it. Here's a guy who's on the streets, he's handcuffed, he's walking, and then, 15 minutes later, he's dead. And I don't care about your conspiracies. I have my own conspiracies, and we'll probably dig into that some this week. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. It's a sad situation. Over here in the pub, we got, of course, Hot News Natalie. We have Party Foul Steve, who is just itching to say something inappropriate. We've got Kez, who I'll make more of who Kez is in a minute. Of course, we've got Austin Holland sitting over here, and the host of Slightly Offensive right here on BlazeTV, Elijah Schaffer. Now, you were out there, you were on the street. Kez, by the way, is Elijah's wife. She doesn't have to say anything if she doesn't want to. All right. But I do love to listen to her
She's
talk.
also
She's Australian.
She's also the host of her own show called Crocs On with a K, K-R-O-C-S on, not the shoes. Does
she handle animals?
Yeah, it's something, in Australia, you're born and you get a koala assigned to you.
Yeah.
It just comes with it. First comes the kid and then comes the koala, and it's now tied to your spirit.
Yeah, like if I was an 80s baby, we got assigned Cabbage Patch Kids. But you know how that goes.
Yeah, those are weird.
Yeah, they get a koala. They get a full-grown living animal. Here they give you like one of those little robot babies that cries in the middle of the night, when you're in high school and it wets itself, you got to change it.
In Los Angeles, we actually, instead of a koala, we get to pick our gender flag. So if you want a trans flag, or it's basically any one of the colors of the LGBTQ, you basically get it assigned to you at birth. It's just what you represent and what you fight for.
Yeah. Now, you just moved here. Welcome to Texas, by the way. You and Kez just moved here, in the last 2 weeks?
A couple days ago.
Days ago.
Friday.
You came in here and violence erupted. You were like, we made it to Texas. Yes, God bless. And then they started storming the Alamo and shit. So, welcome to Texas, man. Man a gun, okay? We got some video clips I want to show you guys. Can we make the last one the clip that he did? There's a couple of clips. Obviously, there's graphic nature to these clips, and there's just a sample, because I know you've seen video after video through this last weekend with protests, riots, looting, all kind of crazy stuff, and some violence. Roll those clips real quick, Candace. If you're not following Ian Miles Chong on social on Twitter, you need to. So there's an SUV that just kind of plows through the people there, which my thing is get out of the way. Streets are for cars.
I think there's a law that actually gives the driver justification if they're in danger to continue driving through a crowd in some states. So
yeah, I've seen a couple of videos that were just absolutely insane on that. There was the one where the guy's driving the 18-wheeler tanker, and there's people all over the cab of it. And he stops for whatever God knows reason. And I'd be like, let's see if you guys can hang on at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what I think is weird,
because they pull him out of the truck, start beating his ass.
This is where I want to. We can get into this footage, because this is where I absolutely despise the very dishonest far left media, because they always go, "Oh, a driver, drove over protesters." No. Always before these situations, people are attacking either a business or breaking glass or destroying the car, and then the driver drives over people. Mm-hmm. It's not like there was some guy who was like, I'm just crossing the street, just a black guy walking down, and then some driver was like, I'm on my way to Krispy Kreme, let's run this mother effer over, and just like plows them down. It's like, no, they're in the middle of chaos, and usually whatever somebody reacts in a way that maybe isn't considered wise, it's in a place where you would understand they're panicking, and they just do what they want to do because to get out of the situation. And then it's like somebody going, how did I get bit by a rattlesnake by putting my hand in its face? It's like you attacked a car in the middle of traffic. You're going to get run over.
Did you see the video in New York where they take the street barricade and they're holding it and the cop car pulls up and they're throwing stuff at the cop car, and all these people are standing behind this orange barricade, metal, iron barricade, and the cop car finally is like, I've had enough of this, and it's like just boom, just starts trucking through people, just pulls forward, hits the barricade, and is throwing people everywhere. And I'm like, you people are not tall enough to ride this ride. Like, you guys should never have been trying this. You're not going to win. And the tallest one out there is 5'5", and no offense, Austin, but that's that's just the way it is.
Or Will Witt.
These guys. The people who pissed me off, somebody texted me last night about this, and they said, are you worried about this? I said, it's not the black community I'm worried about. Like the looting and the rioting, we've seen that before. We've seen it. Yes, this is on a very wide scale. It's these privileged, if you want to use that word, white kids that are out there pretending to be revolutionaries. And they're the ones who are causing a bigger problem than anybody else. Have you seen that on the street?
Yeah, if we're going to talk about these people, I like somebody from the Atlantic called me and they're like, can you confirm these were Antifa? I go, you can't go walk up to someone and ask for their Antifa business card. Like, they don't wear a badge. Like, ask me for help, I'm Antifa. Like, I don't know how you identify for sure who's anti-fascist or who's just a kid wearing a black mask, or if there's even a difference. But, I'm going to say this. In Dallas, there was like 6 white people there. So I don't know about the narratives in other places, but people go, well, in Portland, it was like all white people. I go, yeah, I've never met a black person in Portland.
Right, me either.
So I don't, why would they appear out of the bushes? Did they grow on trees during protests? No, like, I don't know. You know, it's like, there's no black people in the Pacific Northwest pretty much statistically. So you look at these protests, these are privileged kids. But honestly, you know, I think there was a recent study done in like 2014 that found that I think over 90% of far left protesters that they found at these lived with their parents or didn't have a job or the combination of the two.
Yeah. When we were in Washington, D.C. together back in February, you were standing there in the lobby at the hotel and you're like, well, there's the head of D.C.'s anti-fascist.
Jason Charter.
Yeah. There's the head of Antifa, D.C.'s Antifa chapter or whatever. And he comes over and you introduce me to him. And his first thing right out of his mouth is, you know, hey, I'm here. I'm anti-white nationalist and anti-fascist. And I'm like, well, then we're on the same team.
How does it feel to be the head of a domestic terrorist cell?
Yeah.
Cool, man. You're a domestic terrorist against white nationalism? That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure all terrorists are against white nationalism, except maybe white nationalist terrorist groups.
Yeah, good for you. So yesterday, after Trump tweeted that they were going to make Antifa a terrorist organization, or I'm not even sure he used the word organization. I think he did, but I don't know. Because they're not. Anyway, we won't get into
organization. They have a lobby. Like, where's their headquarters?
Yeah,
you know?
We're not going to get into whether they're an organization.
Everything's painted black.
That. But I had tweeted something out about it. I said, or in terms that you basement dwellers can understand, game over. And of course, I got called a fascist all day long because they're supposedly anti-fascist, right? Which doesn't matter what you call yourself. When you use fascist tactics and terroristic tactics to try to, you know, fight so-called fascism. I mean, like, I could call myself a love goddess. I'm neither a goddess or a female, and I really don't love most folks. But it doesn't matter. I could call myself the love goddess. And if somebody says you're an asshole, I could say, why are you against love and women? Right? And that's the kind of logic that they're using with Antifa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
you deal with them all the time.
Know, Chad, you know, I'm really happy to be on your show so we can actually, for the first time, bring some, you know, actual good ideas to your listeners. I feel so bad that people actually take time to listen to this show. If you're listening to the show, you know, I want to say whoever's paying you and whatever someone talked you into this, thank you. Because people who are special need support too. They have the Special Olympics. They have a lot of different things. And, you cheer people on. They're running at 2 miles per hour and you go, good job. And that's how I feel on your show is I'm kind of like just cheering you on as you're running and making you feel good here. Because, you know, anti-fascists and Antifa and these people, quite frankly, it's absolutely absurd that they even have given themselves titles, because I think that you have to be very careful. When activist groups give themselves titles and tell you what they do, 99% of the time they do the exact opposite, right? So when the media says we're here to tell you the truth, like a station, you probably know they're lying to you. Or, you know, when they say this is, you ever seen on right now MSNBC when he was saying this is a mostly peaceful protest and there's a building burning behind him? Exactly. So anti-fascists essentially have adopted every single tactic of the fascist right, but hold heavily progressive ideas. And then they call themselves anarcho-communists, which is this new thing that I didn't know was real. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Anarcho-communism. Has anybody heard of that? Anarcho-communism?
Big word.
What do you think it means? Let's try. What would you guess? If I said I'm an, because I didn't know at first either. Yeah. What is, okay, anarchy. Communism, communist. So I go, what the hell does that mean? So this is more important. So this is what actually anti-fascists self-describe themselves to be. Let's not even get into their genders yet. They believe in non-institutionalized communism by community compliance, so that people self-govern without a centralized and systematic power. So there's anarchy at a first degree level, or we'd call it federal level here, but there's anarchy and there's no structure, but every community governs themselves. I thought we already had that. But I thought it was called democracy.
Democracy.
A republic.
But in their eyes, everybody just, I guess, supposedly gets their paycheck and goes ahead and gets it into a cash.
There's no rent. Rent doesn't exist.
Right.
There's no money.
And so we just pool it all in the middle of the cul-de-sac of the
Poop
neighborhood
in a bag
we
and
live
add it to
in.
the center. Yeah.
And there it is. And hey, whatever anybody needs, y'all just take from it. because what I earned belongs to you too. And we're just self-governing.
Well,
that's going to go really great.
One Antifa that I follow so many accounts, and it's so funny because it says, hello fellow comrades, with the pronouns in the picture that are not matching to clearly their biological pronouns. They're like, actually, I really like the pronouns. You've heard of Zer Zim?
Yeah,
I like that one because people always go, "Oh, I'm not calling them they." I'm not calling a Zer. That doesn't exist. I go, I'll tell you what. When I looked at that person, Zim is very good word to describe them because I don't know who the hell and what the hell they are. And then they go, don't call them they. They's great because I'm not worried about offending them. I just really don't know what to call them. Yeah. And so I'm just gonna call them a Zim. And it's like, hello comrades, we're taking back revolution, all this stuff. Next post, can't wait to get a new iWatch for my birthday. Next post, capitalism it burns down. I hate socialism. Here's my OnlyFans. Go to my OnlyFans.
Yeah, my OnlyFans.
My comrade communist OnlyFans. Like, what do you like?
Yeah. Tweeted from iPhone.
Take off your state-issued rags on your iPhone that you bought with exploitive, slave labor, and while you're wearing your Nikes. Like, these people are using an iPhone to tweet about how they hate capitalism. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
How hard do you think it would be on them if they had a big reality check and suddenly they got what they claimed to want?
Oh, well, that's what. Okay, so this is where I'm excited. Let's get into this. So they're a domestic terrorist group, and unfortunately for me, where they're hotbeds, like Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, follow him online. You guys will love it. It's a comedy show. Unlike the show that he's actually funny, and he doesn't try to be. He doesn't try to be. He writes things like during this protest, how did this happen in the city of Portland? And I go, I don't know, Ted. You've been turning a blind eye to domestic terror cells in your city for like a decade. Maybe that's how it happens. And telling the police to stand down as they grow in ranks and numbers, not working with the Department of Homeland Security or the DOJ, not working with anybody, and not even complying with the federal government for illegal aliens in your state, maybe in your city. Maybe that's how this crap happened. But he was like writing, I don't get how this happened. And you look at these anti-fascists, and if you defend yourself against them, you go to jail. So if they use non-lethal force on you, and let's say I were to punch them back, I got a concussion in January. They hit me with knuckled gloves and gave me a concussion. The police didn't arrest the person, and if I struck back, I would go to jail for assault.
Yeah.
And so my point is, now that they're a domestic terror group, I want to know, can I punch those little sons of a in the face?
Yeah, and because you tweeted about that yesterday, I want to see what my rules are. Hang on a second. Hey, SAT, ACT, often thought of as simply inconvenient tests that students have to give up on a Saturday, or they got to give up a Saturday to take a few times their junior and senior year. The reality is that the SAT and the ACT are the two most powerful forces driving curriculum in the United States today. They're high-stakes tests, and let me tell you something. They drive instruction, they drive curriculum, and there's no question that the College Board, who owns the SAT, is a far-left organization. Just last year, the College Board had students reading Bernie Sanders op-eds on the SAT. The good news is there's a new company taking the SAT and the ACT on. It's the Classic Learning Test, or CLT. It's been around for just over 4 years. It's already been adopted by more than 200 colleges, and nearly every college will now at least consider CLT scores, at least as a supplemental component of an application for acceptance. And the CLT, it's shorter than the SAT and the ACT. Students can take it from the comfort of their own home through remote proctoring. And the final CLT of the year is coming up, June 20th. We have finally hit the month of June. That is crazy to me. Hey, CLT rapidly approaching June 20th. With the SAT and the ACT canceled, the demand for the CLT, it's been so high that the seats for the June 20th CLT are limited. Currently less than 8,000 seats remaining. So if you know a high schooler or if you have one yourself, don't miss out. Save your seat. Register today. Hundreds of colleges already offering tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships for CLT scores. So to register for the June 20th official college entrance exam, visit cltexam.com. That's cltexam.com. Register today. Be right back. All right. Let's get back into a couple of more videos. Candice. This stuff, it drives me crazy to watch this stuff. I've seen the craziest stuff over the last weekend. Some I've enjoyed. I don't like any of the circumstances. But like when the guy goes up there and he's got the AR slung over his shoulder, and the Antifa guy, I'm assuming Antifa based on the way he was dressed, he pulls the AR out of the cop car and he comes running up with the pistol, shoves it in his chest, and the guy's like, "Here," just snatches it away from him. I don't know if you saw that or not, and he starts to disassemble the AR-15. Wow. And I was like, that guy shit his pants, honestly, because he thought he was fighting.
Oh, I did see it. He grabbed it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's also, did you see the UFC fighter? He's a black dude, and he's just disarming all the Antifa of their spray cans. He's walking up to them, and he just grabs their cans out of their hands, and he's just a big black UFC fighter. I think he's conservative, and he's just disarming all of the Antifa members of all of their contraband, and they're just like scared shitless.
I wish I was a big black guy. Let's do that. Run that video. This is the homeless guy here. They throw his mattress, and he tries to pull it out, throw his mattress on the bonfire. I mean, he's got nothing to do with anything other than that's just where he lives, right? He's stomping the fire out on the mattress. Like, this makes no sense to me. And of course,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
And of course, as soon as they show the InfoWars flag on that thing, then people are gonna say, "Well, he's probably a crisis actor or some paid guy." But yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's homeless right there in the streets.
You guys look sad.
Yeah,
I almost cried.
I tweeted that video yesterday, and I said, I don't think this is what George Floyd would want.
No. Now that's when it breaks down, because you know, I made the off the cuff remark yesterday to who was it? Chrissy Teigen's deal, where I said they don't arrest protesters. You know, she's like, we're putting the bail out for, and of course they all chimed in and said, well, they do. They get tear gas and they get, you know, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you peaceful protesters. I understand there's been atrocities when it comes to the civil rights movement and protesting over the years and things like that. There have been, but by and large, people that are actually getting arrested, they're doing something. Typically. Yeah. And this is the kind of nonsense that you see that's just crazy.
Well, look, I'm going to bring this up that you say this, because every single time I'm at one of these things, I see the bad people framed as good and the good people framed as bad. And I've never seen actual good people have anything bad happen to them. And I'll be honest, because I was joking. I was going to make a tweet. I haven't yet. I was going to say there were good sides on both. There were good people on both sides of the protests over the weekend. Just so you guys know, there were. You know, something happened in Dallas. Something happened in Dallas that I had never seen before. And unfortunately, when you're involved with riots, no one knows that you're a journalist, especially when I dress in black bloc to go to these things, so no one knows who I am. I look like Antifa. But when the cops were losing control of the city, and I was seeing them genuinely not know what to do and panic, it strikes a little fear in you when the police are panicked. So when SWAT doesn't know what to do in a situation, you go, this is where I would use the F word, but we can't on your show. We are, you know, F.
We're screwed.
Like, that's what comes to my head. I don't even care if you're a devout Christian or an atheist. You're going to use the same word in that situation. You just go, that's your first curse word of the year. Go say
Steve's mama.
Yeah.
Hey, kids.
Easy now. Yep.
Glenn Beck would say it. Yeah. And you're standing there and you're going, what's about to happen? Because now both sides are in chaos. Both sides have guns. I saw weapons with the rioters. They had weapons. It's Dallas, you expect it. And the police get in their car. They launch tear gas. I'll get into a couple of these. They launch tear gas haphazardly, not knowing where to launch it, obviously with minimum supplies. And they just lean out of their cars with pepper bullets and rubber bullets. Like, I don't know if they were automatic, but they were firing and just driving by the crowds and just lighting up, doing drive-bys. The SWAT started drive-by shooting everyone to get through the crowd. I don't know if that's legal to just without aim just light up crowds, but I just hid behind a trash can. Because I was just like, if you see some of the pictures of some of people who were just walking by, get their faces split open. This one girl here just was walking to a mini mart and like didn't know there was a riot, and she got lit up, this young girl, just because the police were without aim lighting people up. They were so reckless, and not in a bad way. And this is what I want to bring up before people think I'm talking crap on cops. I want to explain myself. They shot there was a woman sitting inside her car on the side of the road, like going to a shop, and they shot tear gas into her car, and she had to run out of her car. Like, they didn't know what they were doing. The police were so confused, and they were throwing flashbang grenades into the crowd, like in the middle of people, and police were running in different directions. They were getting back to back in the center of crosswalks, like not knowing what to do. I think were they throwing fireworks? Or like the people were shooting fireworks at the police? What was going on?
No, the police were using fireworks. They had these yellow, like plastic looking guns, whatever. And they would shoot fireworks at the crowds when the crowds were looting and rioting and like smashing windows up. And so they were using tear gas grenades, which that one lady that you said, they actually threw it underneath her car and it started getting in her car. So that's when she jumped out.
Her car was filled with smoke. We have footage of that.
Ruined.
Destroyed
her car. Ruined. And
this
she was
sounds
screaming.
So much like my sex life.
But her car's ruined. But they were using pepper paintballs, tear gas grenades, fireworks. I mean, am I missing anything?
There was no like you see in previous riots or in protests, right? They get in a line, they have their shields. It's very organized. Right. This is like one guy in the left just going, just like shooting at people, not knowing what they're doing.
I mean, you've been in enough of these scenarios out on the street. You've seen some things.
I've never seen this. Before.
That's what I'm going to say. Because it was. The nature of it was like a pop-up rally kind of thing, like a flash mob. Like all of a sudden, boom, it was there, and they just weren't ready.
In 15 minutes, it got violent, and they gathered and immediately started breaking into this tobacco and mini mart, which was run by black people. So really nice thing, black presumably even minority owned. I don't want to sound like most mini marts are owned by minorities, but they are. Yeah. And it was like they started looting and breaking, and they were like, and they stole a fire extinguisher and they're shooting it in the street, and you're going, it was Mad Max, and it was the police lost control of the Chrissy Teigen's use of the word protest. We should have the word protest. We should have two protests in the dictionary. We should have the real word protest and Chrissy Teigen and Hollywood's use of the word protest.
The John Legend version.
But I will tell you this, and this is where I'll throw it to you because I don't want to ramble. But it's really heavy on my heart, and I
want you to talk about it. You were the one on the street.
Yeah, I'm not gaslighting, and this is why I hate the media. Always tells me, "Oh, you're gaslighting, you're exaggerating." Look, F you. Go to my Twitter and look at what I captured. I put it up there. I'm not making this up. I have been to so many protests. For your listeners that are not familiar with my work, at least I think I have 80 to 100 videos on protests in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So believe me, I've been to them. I could not tell the difference between the streets of Dallas and what you see footage from Aleppo. And besides, we were one step away from live rounds, and there was a point where the police took out their real guns because they were like, we might have to like, I know the police, no officer, a state trooper that lives near me said there was no way we were going to start shooting black people in the streets of Dallas. I mean, they weren't going to. I'm not blaming the police for that. Right. But they were like, get near me. They started getting to the point where, like, I was saying, I'm a journalist, I have a press card, etc. I'm telling them, like, I don't give up. He says, get the back. Like, they don't know what they were frightened. They were genuinely just frightened. And I think that when you see big black dudes and white dudes, these are not fat cops. These are elite SWAT units and riot police. These are their best trained officers. These are not just your little dude, your little fat guy giving you a ticket on the highway. I mean, this is like, these are the best of the best. Acting like scared little girls on the street, even in full body armor, you go, damn, this is like something they haven't dealt with.
But look at what's scaring them. Not only are you in that melee, but you're faced with the adrenaline of this fact that you might have to start shooting people. And how is it going to be justified? How are you going to be? Like there was the footage of the guy who had his knee on a guy's neck that he was arresting. The other cop comes and pulls him off. Because you don't want that image again after what happened to George Floyd, right? So these guys are doing the best they can in a situation that they've never been in, and they're trying to navigate through this thing. So they are scared shitless.
Did this happen? Has this happened in Dallas before? I don't know. Is there
We've
history?
had riots. I mean, we've had things that have happened
2016
in that regard. But in this thing, I mean, 4 years ago, of course, we had the Dallas police officers that were shot. But I mean, that we've had numerous, and that was in the middle of protests, quote unquote protests and riots and things like that. So we've had those. I mean, every major city in the South, and I know Texas is not necessarily the South, but we've all had our stuff, whether it's Atlanta, Birmingham to, Jackson, Mississippi. They've all had
then
their...
one wrong move by a police officer and they lose their job now.
Well, anytime you set off a firearm. I mean, I've known justified shootings or doesn't matter. I mean, even nobody was killed and people have lost their job. But the job thing aside, I don't think anybody wants to kill anybody. And there's so many things I want to ask you and get into, and we got a minute in this segment, but just real quick, you saw the Antifa tweet, right? That says, we're done with the cities, now we're going into the suburbs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's country folks out there saying, well, that's what we've been waiting on, right?
County's waiting.
I don't mean to lighten the load on
off.
that, but it's like, well, that's kind of what we've been hoping you would say for a long time now, because we don't want to go into the cities after you. But, I mean, do you put any real merit on that? Or is that just talk?
Are you familiar with Andy No?
Yeah, sure.
He's my favorite gay Asian.
Mine too.
You're my second one favorite.
I don't know how many gay Asians I know, but yeah, he's one of my
That's
faves.
that's my joke. I actually don't even know a lot of Asians, unfortunately, because it's not because I'm racist. It's because they hang out with each other only.
They do.
And
yeah.
so
It's
that's
community.
not my fault. Hey, I like dim sum too. Where are you at, my Asian people?
Hang on.
Take me
Hang
out.
on. Stop. Take the quick break. Come back because I want to get his answer. Hang on. We'll be right back. All right, the Antifa thing. They make the threat. What did Andy No say?
Okay. I really love Andy No, and I'll say that on here. He's a great, great journalist, and he gets a lot of crap for no reason. Also support him, too, because I think we were just talking about earlier, a lot of people, especially in conservative media, don't get compensated as much as people think, and Andy No is independent, and I know that he really is supported through donations. So find him, support him, whatever you can do.
NGO.
After you buy the products from the ads in this show. Yeah. So after you buy your ACT exam prep. So after that. He said, I did not really think that Antifa was capable of instigating a revolution across the United States. And I sat back and I go, well, first of all, the narrative that this is all Antifa is false, okay? As much as you want to think that all Black lives matter, they do. That's true. But, the fact that just because you're black, you're a good person is not true. There's crappy people of all races, creeds, and colors. You can't say that. There was a lot of brothers out there breaking shit and looting, okay? It wasn't just a bunch of white kids, and we have to acknowledge that, okay? Sometimes Black Lives Matter and people who claim to be from them can act just as much like a terrorist organization as Antifa. Sure. So I want to bring that in. It wasn't just Antifa that started these riots, and I won't let the left take that narrative. But I did not know that Antifa was so well organized opportunistically, and I did not know that they could cause so much chaos in such a short amount of time. And I did not know they were as desperate as they were, because he's right. I feel really bad for anti-fascists. And I want to say this. This is going to sound like I'm actually being mean, and I am going to be mean, but it's the brutal truth. And people tell it to me all the time. They go, I don't know when you're joking, because when you're joking the most, you sound the most serious. Mm-hmm. So this is not a joke. I have to clarify. Antifa are pretty much all homosexuals. That sounds like I'm joking. They're all homosexuals or transgenders.
You don't have to convince this crowd.
Yeah. They are. I make it an effort to talk to Antifa and ask them about their sexual orientation regularly and their gender identities. Sometimes it's the way I can get into a conversation with them, because they know a lot about that, and they teach me new gender identities, and they're mentally ill. They all on their profiles talk about depression, anxiety, and I'm gonna say this: transgenderism is a mental illness. And if you believe that you're anything other than just a boy or a girl, you're mentally ill. And they are mentally ill people. And on top of this, a lot of them come from families with money, but they themselves have bought into a victim ideology that they're white privileged, which I call, it's actually a real victim. You actually are a victim if you believe in white privilege, because just like black communities who believe they're victims of slave ideology, that, oh, I'm black, so I can't get out of this. These white privileged people, they think I'm white privileged, so I don't want to continue the standard of white authority and whiteness. So I'm going to kind of step back. And so they don't tap into their potential. And I think people don't realize that. They're not lazy. Antifa are not lazy. They're really actually persistent people. But they're confused sexually, and something happens when you live a sexual lifestyle that's licentious and out there. It doesn't help you. You know, when you live outside of the confines of what God made us to be. And I want to tell you this, when you look at, and they're addicted to porn, if you look at porn, hardcore porn all the time, this is, I think they become open to experiences. They tell me a lot of men say that they get into bisexuality, homosexuality things from pornography, and a lot of these guys are pro porn in Antifa. So they get into porn, they get open to this, they get around people, they get into weird sexual practices, free to do. They get into then they get confused in their gender identity. They get influenced to Marxism, and then they believe they're privileged, so they don't want to try to get into the systems of the world. They're mad at the systems of the world because they think they unfairly treat black people and other people of color. And then they walk around and they have nothing to live for. And it's really depressing. Their lives are really, really depressing. And you have to realize they live in a world we don't. And you know, you'd be surprised about how much just like having a wife or some stability in your life or a husband can really give you purpose, right? That's why married men make more money. They say that you're in better mental health if you don't look at pornography. These are scientific studies. You tend to be happier. The people that look at a lot of porn are depressed. These people are some of the most to be pitied people in the country, not to be justified for what they do. But you realize that this isn't about politics, it's about personal life choices. And these ideologies that are coming in that are supposed to be freeing the country are destroying individual lives. And before we just go, oh, those damn Antifa, they're messing up the country. No, these are thousands of people. Do you know the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, which are similar militant group that show up a lot? But I want to clarify for your listeners, a lot of the people at these protests are DSA. They're not the DSA, which AOC is a part of, which AOC is a member and promotes, are violent. They are violent revolutionaries, and I've been assaulted by them, and they are so quick to turn to violence. And they're an armed militia group in Portland. They're armed there, and no one likes to talk about them. You should look into that in your show one time. The rise of the DSA on the Pacific Northwest. They only talk about New York. It's a real up and coming militant group.
Which, by the way, to your point, if you'll notice with AOC's little live Instagram thing she did yesterday or the day before, where she's walking down the street, and then she puts out the thing on her Instagram of how to prepare for going to a protest, and there's like burn resistant gloves and all the stuff for. I mean, it was a militant protest she was promoting, because she had a checklist in a meme, in a picture of all the things you needed to go to the deal. Ilhan Omar's daughter
is DSA, and she's I don't think Ilhan Omar is an actual member, but she's DSA, Ilhan Omar's daughter, and she was sharing Antifa prepared lists on her Instagram. She's a big activist, and she's so deep that her bio says, "I hate capitalism." That's how she describes herself, and that's what I mean. It's like these people, their identity is that they're against capitalism and they have pronouns, and we laugh and we go, "Oh, who unironically puts pronouns?" But when you get to the human element, there's somebody out there that has so little depth to who they are because they believe everything is a lie, that pronouns and being against something is what they stand for. They don't stand for anything, they just stand against. And that's where the radical left and anarchist and this collectivist mindset, I mean, they call it intersectionality, but it's just collective tribalism has come together to the point where you go, when we abandon God in our country, and this is where I butt heads with my atheist listeners or my blind viewers. By the way, I call my listeners the podcast, they're my blind viewers. There you go. So it's braille friendly content. It's just my audio only. But No. By the way, I'm gonna go, I hope you're offending deaf people. I go, what deaf people are listening to my show on audio only? That's that's hard to do. But anyway, it comes down to the real truth of we need to have more empathy for these people. And there's always some guy that's going to be, that probably looks like you. It's going to be like, oh, F this little, this little bitch boy, tell me to have empathy. I go, no, you know what? That's where the left gets right. These people are disenfranchised, and there are people who are empathetic, who get it. They go, oh, you're confused about your sexuality, and this might speak to you too because of similar issues,
I'm with you.
Oh, you're confused about your sexuality. Mm-hmm. You don't know what gender you are. And you get into this, and a lot of these kids were molested. I want to tell you about that. Molestation is an epidemic in white communities. It really is. Yeah. There's a lot of white people molesting people, and I hate to say that, but it's true. People talk about black people committing violent crimes. Well, you know what kind of can mess up your life more than getting your car stolen? You know about that as well.
Shut up.
I don't know. Getting sexually violated
as me that made the car stolen joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but I'm saying like getting sexually violated as a child does unrepairable damage. And I have talked to so many gay men and people, and I ask them, and baby, you're big on this too, about asking guys who are sexually confused. And what are the two common things you always find in their life?
Pornography is like the biggest thing. I have no shame in asking men how much porn they watch, how often they watch, what type of porn, all that sort of stuff. And people are actually pretty open to talk about it, like, oh yeah, blah, 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 this is what I like. And a lot of young men watch a lot of porn frequently. I've gone out in the streets and interviewed them and asked them, and even gay porn and things like that. What was your question?
No, yeah, so that's not the gay porn is the second one. Is that a lot of these people look at this stuff, and I was going to say, so when you look at this, that sucks, man. You're like, if you look at the stats in the gay community of how many gay people were molested and how many molestations happened by gay people. I'm not saying all gay people are molesters. Nobody take me out of context. Some Jared Holt or something would be like, he said gay people are child molesters. I did not say that. But the moral and the physical issue, these are hurting people, and they're looking to political activism to fill a void, and they're angry. You don't burn down a Walmart unless something's genuinely wrong inside of you. Yeah. Like, and that's what we're not getting. And all these people on the right are like, arrest them. No, this is getting progressively worse, not because of our universities and stuff only. Why are the universities? Because if you're a smart person and you're a whole person, you hear a bad idea, you ignore it. Yeah. And that's why the person listening to the show probably would ignore those ideas, because you have a wholeness in your life. But if you don't have a wholeness and you just have a hole, it's a vacuum. Power is a vacuum, and somebody will fill it. Yeah. And the left is targeting these people, these broken people, and they're saying, you want to feel whole again? Burn down that wall. I'm not even joking. Like, burn down the Walmart, and you can get power back in your life.
Hang on. Quick break. Come right back.
No, you're right.
All right, obviously there is a million and one things that we could talk about. We've opened up a lot of cans of worms on this thing. Thanks, Elijah, for doing that. It's what I want. It's what I want when you come around. I like it when you stir the pot a little bit.
I'll be around. I was going to say, for your listeners and viewers, I'm glad that I'm here now in Dallas, because I'm hoping to just like sometimes regularly have you tune in on my show too, and I hope to pop in here sometimes and talk about things, because we could go toe to toe,
and then we could back it up, and then we could take the persecution together.
Oh, I'll take it.
It works.
We're two average to bad looking white guys on a show trying to pass off as entertainment. Yeah, not a bad shtick.
That's right. Well, I'm losing weight. It'll get there. Hey, listen, YouTube. Slightly offensive. Look it up, subscribe, check out everything Elijah's doing, pray for him. Come back tomorrow night. We're going to talk some more with Elijah. Love y'all. God bless. Talk to you next time. Bye.